Awesome. You ready to get extreme today, Mark?
Extreme. Going 90s extreme.
It's going to be a very violent episode. Big bloodbath.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect for the 50th episode.
Well, it could only be. I mean, I know you've told me as we were chatting offline before how much you love this particular thing. And Mark said to me he'd like to do a 5-hour talk on this Jason jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, we're going to go through it piece by piece in exquisite detail.
Exquisite detail, yes. Unfortunately, we'll have to save that for another day because today's topic is actually something different. And we're getting into some Aliens, Predator, Robocop, Terminator. Bit of everything from the 90s.
Yeah, all your R-rated themed creatures, robots, cyborgs, aliens, predators, you name it, we got it.
Yeah, all the
lovely
violent things.
All the properties that are totally suitable for kids.
Suitable for all ages. You can explode heads at any age. Enjoy a bit of carnage. I mean, if you can play Mortal Kombat when you're a kid, you can certainly enjoy these movies. Enjoy the merchandise.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. And you know, I had a great time last week when we were chatting about the KAALLLL aliens line. So
yeah, it was a bumper episode.
It made sense. Oh yeah, and look, we had a great. Like, I love going back over all that and just looking at those toys and reminiscing on the ones I used to have or the ones that I wanted to have but never got my hands on.
Well, the ones I got in the mail this week.
Since last week, I have been perusing the interwebs and maybe beginning to take small steps about reacquiring some of those old KAALLLL aliens. So
I'm still waiting on my package from America. I'm going to have to put a claim in the next few days. Otherwise, it's over the period, which is stupid on eBay. It should be the longer it is, the more you should have time to claim because it didn't turn up. But it's been like 6 weeks, and it was estimated to come like 4 weeks ago. There's no sign of it. So hopefully it's not lost in the mail.
Is that the one with the mantis alien? Is that package?
Yeah, which I've never had the mantis. It's got the scorpion, the mantis, another gorilla, and I think another random loose predator or something in there. But mainly I wanted the mantis because no one in Australia had it for sale. So,
well, look, we're going to have to sort you out with a mantis one way and the other. So if it does go pear-shaped,
the seller had good feedback. So I think it's just the postal system being shit. I don't think it's anything to do with the seller. Like, it says they posted it like a month ago, but it still just hasn't turned up.
Yeah, you can always rely on the shitty old postal service to let you down.
It's really bad, the last leg of it, when it gets to Australia, because eBay is the worst for not updating their goddamn tracking. If it's in Australia, it's okay, but when it's outside from America, the tracking never changes. It tells you what it's doing in America. Once it leaves America, forget it. Until it turns up here, there's nothing. So I don't know if it's in America or could be sitting in Australia at like customs or some shit. But anyway, quick rehash of what we covered over the last month or so. And we did a special on Alien, first movie. We did the first Predator, of course. And sequel Aliens. And Predator 2, which is all on the playlist. If you want to click on the channel playlist, you can go back and see any of those. And we did a big bumper episode, of course, on the toys of Kenner. And that was covering pretty much the whole line as far as the alien specific part, because it kind of splits into two lines when it gets into Predator stuff. So we got lovely movie sequels, Aliens 5 Miami, or depending on what part of the world, might have been called Operation Miami, foreign territories. And there it is there, episode 49. We had the Kenner Aliens and a couple of studio sequel movies, Distinguished Xenomorphs, historical pictures, very historically accurate as far as I know. But anyway, it brings us on to our topics here. A bit of a quick overview, and we'll get into some toy pictures and other media and stuff and all sorts of cool things in here. So in the 80s and 90s, we got Aliens, Robocop, Predator, and eventually Terminator, and of course Terminator 2. And all of these movies eventually got sequels, some rapidly, some many years later in the case of Aliens and Terminator. And when we got to the 90s, the merchandise just kind of exploded, and there was a lot more comic book shops were kind of in an upswing. You had a bubble economy in the early 90s, and toys were still being a lot of toys were still being produced like they were through the 80s. There was a glut of stuff on shelves, so just a lot of licensees being snapped up. And even if there wasn't a new movie coming out, you could be guaranteed you were going to get maybe an animated series, or there was a statue, or there was a minifigure, or there was a Jason Jigsaw puzzle, or there was just a lot of merchandise coming out for all these properties in the 90s that we weren't really seeing before that. We saw little bits and pieces before that, but now we're just like cranking stuff out. So we've got expanded media, comics, video games were taken off massively big as well. And so I've never been into RPGs as in that like pen and paper RPGs, but quite a few comics properties got like D&D style RPG stuff, or source books and that in the 90s. Sometimes I see those at the comic shops. Even wargaming style miniatures occasionally, you get things like that. But yeah, just a hell of a lot of merchandise was coming out.
Crazy amount of merch. Love seeing all those logos lined up there. Just reminds me of childhood.
Just one super movie. Just cram it all in there.
And the way things are going with studio mergers and acquisitions, we probably will one day get the Aliens, Predator, Terminator, Robocop movie we've all been waiting for.
Versus the Avengers and the X-Men.
Yeah, looking to take a spin on my heavy metal cycle here.
Yep.
Which you still see, because, NECA, of course, have released modern Terminator toys, but they never released a motorbike. So you still sometimes see people in their collections will have the old Kenner T2 heavy metal cycle as the motorbike for their NECA Terminator.
Nice. Yeah, I'd love to know how he stores that missile that's like nearly bigger than the bike. Yeah, Kenner, of course, made these Terminator toy lines, which I didn't have any of these back then. I have one random figure now, which is basically mostly that same figure, but the one with the green shirt, and it's got two heads and his arm pops off for like a kind of damaged gimmick, and then he's got an alternate battle damaged arm and an alternate battle damaged head that I picked up off eBay recently. And here's some of the line. Future War.
I would have loved that John Connor with his motorcycle back in the day.
Yeah, it's funny. You get the Terminators in like the pink shirt and the green shirt and the yellow, but then you get John Connor, who looks more like a regular John Connor, and not strange colors or anything.
I had a couple of these kind of wackier colored ones. I had the Endo Glow Terminator, which is pretty much just a glow in the dark endoskeleton.
I do like a glow in the dark figure.
That Metal Mash Terminator as well. He's kind of just another endoskeleton colored bronze.
Yeah, they're fun.
I always just wanted the normal silver endoskeleton, but I was constantly getting the repaints because they were the only ones in the shops.
Yeah, it's definitely a very licensing thing where it's like, oh, we're doing stuff that's different than the movies for legal reasons, and then, but also as far as toy lines, it's like the old Batman syndrome. Like it's snow fighting Batman and jetpack Batman and orange Dayglow Batman, all the weird colors they would do and gimmicks. I like the Terminator here, the one's hidden power Terminator. It looks like Big Papa Pump WCW.
His hidden power is a giant metal claw that he keeps in this inconspicuous metal glove he has in his arm.
I reckon that the strangest figure
weapons are wacky.
Strangest figure is that that chromium Terminator. It looks bizarre. It looks like, I don't know, like Death's Head or something from the UK. It's a very strange looking design.
Yeah, I have no idea what it's supposed to. I'm assuming it's supposed to be some type of experimental futuristic Terminator. He looks
similar
crazy.
Deal to the Aliens, where they had that integer one whatever android thing that looked really strange looking in the line. It's like they had to fill out another character slot and they didn't have licensed things. They had to just make something up.
I'd say this was a tricky line. Like, I know we kind of mentioned this a little bit
Mm,
last week, but with Terminator especially, like it is a quite balls to the walls, violent property, and even like you look at looking at a lot of these figures here, like all the Terminators or a lot of the Terminators have body parts missing or they've skin peeled
yeah,
away and stuff. It's a kind of somewhat gory maybe line to try and market to kids. I feel as
yeah.
well like I'm only noticing for the first time that the word Judgment Day is not included in these toys. I'm
No,
only
it's
realizing
future
that
war.
now. It's Future War. We don't want
We're
the
living
kids
in it
thinking
now.
about Judgment Day. Current war.
Current war. The alternative line to Terminator. Current war. But yeah, and they got regular size figures. We got an Ultimate Terminator, who's a larger one, and we'll see a bit more him shortly. And then we got some vehicles, of course, and Kenner had to sort of use their old imagination to make up some stuff. I'm not familiar. Kenner's done a lot of toy lines, and of course they reuse a lot of things. Sometimes they reuse a gimmick, like as in the exploding Beetlejuice or Scorpion. Sometimes they'll reuse a weapon or a vehicle. So, you get a lot of vehicle reuse throughout the toy lines.
Yeah, so I didn't own any of these vehicles, but I have
Mm.
played with a couple of them back in the day. My cousin had the mobile assault vehicle, which is pretty much a sports car with a rocket launcher attached to the side. Crazy looking vehicle.
It looks
I
like it
would
should
say
be on the
though,
top of some APC or something, something military. It's just so massive. Like this, the armature you need to hold that thing on there, not tip the whole car over.
like apart from the bike, I always just wanted because I wanted to have a bike for for a Terminator
Mm.
figure. But what I really always wanted is that play set at the bottom, the
The
bioflash
bioflesh.
regenerator place.
Do you know what it is? Is it ooze or Play-Doh or what the heck's he's made
Yeah,
out of?
it's a weird like Play-Doh-y. I don't know how you describe it. It's like it's not quite liquid, it's not quite solid.
Mm.
It just
It's
kind
like
of
the
sticks.
Terminator.
You kind of it's almost like a putty that goes
Right.
over
So maybe
the
like a
shell.
halfway putty clay that you can bake or
Yeah.
something, or
Now apparently I'm pretty sure they released tubs of it that you could buy because you get like 2 tubs I think with the playset, and then after you run out you could actually buy little tubs of this
the
bioflash
wording on there
stuff.
is the best. It's like the bioflash regenerator. Let kids create their own Terminator. Load the special bioflash into the chamber. Insert the endoskeleton into the mold. Push the piston. Watch skin form around the figure. So it's a pretty innovative gimmick. But then remove them from the mold. Kids can actually rip the skin off during battles. Of the toy that
It's
is.
such
Not,
a
not
cool
don't rip
concept.
your own skin, kids.
Just don't peel your face off in the middle of the daytime. But yeah,
Comes with
it was just one of
skeletons,
those
6
cool.
weapons, and a vital playmat. It's like I can just imagine some like prayer group somewhere like praying like this is the devil's toys.
Well, that's like with me, man. Like it's a tricky line to try and market to kids because with aliens, even with Predator, with Robocop, you can kind of hide behind other things that you can kind of market them behind and make them very kid friendly and toyetic. But Terminator is a tough property to try and paint that picture with. And like some of this, like that Skybolt flying vehicle, I thought that was a boat. I didn't even realize it was supposed to. Like, I thought it was like a
I don't
jet
know what it
ski or
is. It
something.
looks like something out of like episode 1 Star Wars or something. I bet you that bioflesh regenerator, like his best friend must be Jim Harper. It's gotta be.
Oh yeah, big time, big time. It's one of those sets that you do come across sometimes on eBay. It's always ridiculously expensive, to get one that still has all the pieces because oftentimes you find them and obviously nobody has the bio flash stuff to,
Yeah.
to put on it or it's
Well,
missing the
that
actual
would
shape or
surely be the easiest thing to get some modern version of, like not the putties, because there's all kinds of stuff you can get from model shops or whatever that could recreate that part.
yes. Yeah. I suppose it must be the people who want the authentic, officially licensed Terminator bioflesh that are
You want the
disappointing.
decaying flesh, the authentic
Yeah.
decaying, rotting rubber vinyl.
But it's like the equivalent of that Aliens Queen Hive playset we were looking at last week. It's just a very cool kind of feature
Yeah,
playset to have.
it's very cool set. And Kenner also put out a bunch of Robocop toys. I never had any of these. Like the only ones I've had from back in the era were the few aliens, and I've probably seen these secondhand now and then, sometimes like maybe post year 2000 around like comic shop or trade shops, secondhand stuff. But I don't think I ever saw these in the stores, but I probably at that age was fairly young and not really. I mean, I was in the store, but I probably was looking at Ninja Turtles, not Robocop toys.
Yeah, I saw them in the shops, but never owned them. Never owned any of the Ultra Police line. I remember looking at the ED260 and wondering, why does that not say
Why is he called
ED209?
260?
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird. Especially since they've changed nothing about the design. Like, it just looks like a pretty good representation of ED 209.
Because they've got trademark next to it, so I wonder, if they had to just not use that number, or if it was just a mistake, or it's probably like some kind of copyright thing.
Yeah, it's an odd choice for whatever reason they made it. One thing I do like as a play feature about this line is the whole half firing action that you get with the Robocop and the ED 209. It's a pretty cool looking feature. But this is one of those things where, now look, I haven't watched the cartoon in a long, long time, but just looking at the lineup of some of these bad guys, they just look like such generic,
Very generic.
we need a bunch of bad
Like,
guys. We're going to call them the
we need
Vandals. That's
we
a
need some
bad guy
dudes
brand name.
from KAALLLL and Dinosaurs and Judge Dredd and just mash them together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very it's just so thrown together. It feels like, and once again, I'm sure there's probably more nuance to this. Where if I paid more attention to the media at the time, I'd probably know a bit more about the characters and the backgrounds. But just kind of looking at it here, as an adult, it just seems like these guys. If you take out Robocop and you take out the Ed 209, it feels like literally anybody else here. Yeah, you could see it in.
There's some guys the
Or
Punisher shot in the 80s.
Yeah, any other toy line or series these guys could have appeared in. They're just very
Given they could have been in one of the wackier Joe lines if they had the that buck and articulation. They could have been like 90s weird lines of Joe where they had the crazy colors ones. But yeah, the ED209, he's nice.
Yeah, he's
I
the
don't mind the
star
bikes.
toy.
Yeah, the bikes are okay. And I think the vehicles in this line are not bad either. I don't know some of them how well they fit with Robocop and the themes, but I think whether you use them with Robocop or something else, the vehicles are not bad.
Yeah, they look pretty cool.
And they did get
another.
They're
good quality looking toys. Like they look like you'd have fun playing with them as a kid.
Yeah, and if you've got something else on that scale, you could potentially use it with as well. They look like they'd be repurposable. You've got all sorts. You've got this bloody Robo Jailer APC looking thing, and then you've got helicopter, and helicopter's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd say if you didn't have much, care or love for the Robocop brand, you could get some great customs out of these to put up with other toy lines.
I do like the blue Perspex kind of look. It's nice.
Yes.
It's got that kind of
stylized. The vehicles are definitely, they're one of the more kind of stronger aspects of this line, I would say.
Yeah, reduce to clear. Get your bargains while you can. So we got the loose. We had some Robocop Ultra Police toys. We had movie tie-in toys. We had animation and Marvel comic kind of tie-in, that sort of animated look for a toy line. But also later in the 90s, we got another toy line from a company called, I think it's called Toy Island. The logo's in the corner, but it's very small. We can see a little palm tree. So we got this other one. This was based on another Robocop series called Alpha Command that was right around the year 99, 2000-ish. I didn't know it existed till last year, and it's all on YouTube. If you want to watch it, it's free on there. But these toys aren't bad. They're quite reasonable looking.
Yeah, this kind of, I think it's like a tactical command Humvee or whatever, from that
Hmm.
Robocop series. It looks like a cool toy, and I'm pretty sure I actually did have the 3 3/4 inch toy island version of Robocop, the one we can actually see on screen now. He comes with like a big assault rifle for some reason instead of his like usual like Robocop pistol. But yeah, that was a pretty cool toy to have back in the day. It was like my only bit of Robocop representation in my toy
Yeah,
collection
I
as
wouldn't
a kid.
mind picking up something, just a Robocop figure or whatever from these lines. But so far, all the ones I've looked at on eBay have been pretty chewed up by the dog or whatever, like very battle damaged, you might say. So I haven't found a good one. So I'll keep looking. I reckon I'll find just a loose Robo. It'd be fun to stick with those other like Kenner, like the Terminator and Alien stuff in that same scale, because it's not the kind of
I
toys
only
I
just
generally
um
have.
I only just realized that the robot, I thought the robot was just called Rexor, but his full name is actually Ed 509. So
Oh,
he's
look
like
at
an
that,
advanced
509.
model.
They're given a very strange head, and it seems like a kind of mix of ED29 and Kane kind of design, that taller proportions and the wide shoulders and it.
And they leave it up to your imagination as well, because on the box
Yeah,
it says, is he friend or foe? You
I don't
decide.
know.
You haven't watched the
Yeah.
show. You don't care.
It's a closer up look at some of the figure the Kenner ones there. Still got Dr. McNamara and Gatlin Blaster
Mara.
Robocop.
Yeah, they definitely struggled with the villains, I think, for this Ultra
Yeah,
Beast. Well, I don't know. They're just not jumping out to me for some
it's
reason.
so
No, I
generic,
have to
and he
say,
comes with this tiny. He's got like, I don't know, looks like a Uzi or machine gun with the extended stock, and then he's got like a, what is it, like a radio thing, but it kind of looks like a finger gun.
I will say the card art is very nice.
Yeah, the colour's
For
nice. But what
these,
about the Robocop? Check out that massive strap-on backpack that he's got, like twin
yeah,
Gatling blasters.
and I can't even, I don't know where, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that same feature backpack on other Kenner stuff from the time. I'd
No
say it was
doubt.
a reuse of something else they'd done before.
Maybe when Alan Grant in Jurassic Park was just mowing down
Yeah,
dinosaurs on
yeah,
weekends. But yeah, a couple more goons and Lewis. As pretty as ever with the head of Luke Skywalker, apparently.
that's crazy. And she comes with a man in the Iron Mask style helmet and
Yeah,
a
or some kind,
crossbow.
it's like bootleg Ant-Man helmet. It's like,
It's
I
like,
just when I
Lois,
saw that
she's
and
a
I was like,
cop.
he definitely, she doesn't look that bad in the cartoon. She looks more like a human being.
Even just the fact she's opted to use a crossbow as a weapon,
A
it's like
crossbow,
you're
but it's
you're a
firing
cop
like a
with
rocket.
access to yeah, it's just like your
But
access
the
to all these
important thing is
weapons. Like,
she's
I'll
got the
go.
scope on there, so you can see the blast of the rocket in your face.
I'm only
Oh,
really realizing now that it was actually most of these figures had the cap firing action. I thought it was only Robocop and Ed 209,
yeah.
but it seems like most of the standard figures
Mm.
do the cap firing, and they come with a couple of rules of caps in each package.
I hope the guy in the middle here, that's Ace Jackson. I hope he's got like a viewfinder or something on this thing to see what he's aiming at, because otherwise he's totally blind.
Ace Jackson and Wheels Wilson. These are great names.
They hang out. I think they hang out in Final Fight or something with Hagar when they're in their downtime. But yeah, and then we got this one. He's like a larger, I don't know, if it was 8 inch or 12 inch. I want to say it's around 12 inch, that kind of G.I. Joe old, like that kind of scale. And we had at least one, I think, was released, and then there's another one that wasn't released that reached the prototype stage. This box here is a flat box that's never been sold. It was listed for eBay for sale, but that's why it's completely flat, because it's been like production made like that in the first place and not ever used. So it would have been, probably for a toy show or whatever.
Been a very nice release. Had they went ahead with it, because I like the way
Yeah,
it's in the classic Kenner style of box. Like, it's very reminiscent of that big alien box we were looking at
yes,
last
very
week,
nice box.
the tall figure.
Yeah, it was pretty random to
Style.
actually find that on eBay to get such a decent image like that, because most of the listings just say "and unreleased figure," and I'm like, okay, is any reference? I'm like, as far as I can tell, it's like a reuse of one of the ones they've done, but sort of like blown up in that. And they got the the voice sounds in it. It's pretty cool.
Plenty of big Robocop toys as the years went on anyway. So even though we didn't get this particular one, we would get others.
But yeah, we're going to take a look now at if we go into this one here. Yeah, so that's some Kenner stuff, and Mark's got a pretty cool collection of some Terminator, Robocop, NECA modern stuff where you get more movie accuracy, less of the pink shirts, the green shirts and stuff. But
yeah, and no play features, unfortunately.
Yeah, but they're the modern style, so you can pose them. But they're they're kind of, even though the action figures, the older NECA stuff is very stiff, and you kind of want to kind of heat it up, get the position you want, and leave it there, and you're not going to be like bending the arm every time if you want it to stay on there.
But yeah, we'll play with them, whatever you do.
We'll play a clip here and check those out. Not that clip. This clip.
It's a scumbag. You're a scumbag, and scumbags see the judge on Monday morning. Now get out of my police station and take Laughing Boy with you.
Okay, so we are taking a quick look at my Robocop and Terminator shelf, or Terminator and Robocop shelf if you prefer. So just taking...
Your confusion is not rational.
We have my Terminators, so this is the T-800 endoskeleton. This is supposed to be the version from the first movie, but he came packed with this rifle that we see at the start of T2. I guess they just felt that they needed to pack something in with him. These are all NECA, by the way, as I'm sure you probably guessed. I'm a creature of habit. So we have Arnold from the first film, the kind of tech-noir encounter version. Pretty cool looking figure. We also have the police station shootout version of the Terminator, which looks absolutely awesome. Moving on up here, we have the T-800 once again, this time the T2 version. Very nice there with his shotgun. Of course, in the background we have the T-1000, regular old cop outfit, and then in the gear we see him later on in the movie in his motorbike attire. So that's all the Terminators, and then just moving over here to the Robocop section.
Can you fly, Bobby?
This Robocop sitting on the chair is actually a Mafex Robocop. I actually just have him sitting on the NECA Robocop chair.
Dead or alive,
and the reason for that being is that the NECA Robocop actually does not sit too well. The articulation is a little bit primitive, so the Mafex one takes the chair. We of course have Murphy in his cop gear, who I managed to pick up recently.
Robo, excuse me, Robo. Any special message for all the kids watching at home?
Stay out of trouble.
We also have battle damaged Robocop with the
Your move, creep.
The Peter Weller likeness. It's great to finally have a couple of Peter Wellers in the collection. And of course in the back here we have the big boy Ed 209. Absolutely love Ed 209. Will you make a sound for me? Okay, I'm getting out of here. There you go.
Excuse me. I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening.
Awesome. I love seeing those NECA toys.
Yeah, it gives me a gentle reminder that I need to dust my shelves more often.
There's nothing, man. I get epic dust here like every day. I get to go to someone else's house on the road, and the amount we get in like a day or two is what they get in a month. Here it's like thick chalk dust. It's horrible.
It's one of those things. I have a nice little collection of those Terminator and Robocops, but it's a weird. Both of them are strange properties when it comes to collecting. Like even with Robocop, there's just not really many characters available. Like I'd love if you could
Yeah.
get action figures of like Clarence Boddicker or even like the Old Man or Dick Jones or any of these guys. I know it's unlikely that we'll ever get them, but it would be nice if I could kind of flesh it out a bit more.
Is there a NECA Kane or just that Higher Toys Kane? I've seen that one.
So far, there's just the Higher Toys Kane.
Yeah.
Higher Toys are actually a little bit better.
I do have that 209 out the back, but I've never had it on the shelf. I've had it for several years sitting out the back of the box.
Yeah, the NECA Ed 209 is fun. It's obviously heavy and clunky, but because of the design of it, he can stand perfectly, and you can pose him a little bit with the limited articulation that it has. So I'm fond of it. And he makes sounds too, which is a bonus.
I picked up on sale a couple of years ago, and I didn't really have. It was the first Robocop anything I'd bought, so I didn't have anything to put it with. That's why it sat out there so long. A bit later on, I got a Robocop versus Terminator game deco Terminator and Robot. I've got them, but that's about it because all the older figures were all sort of out of print and not being sold. But you can still get them there on eBay, but a lot of them are kind of like China bootlegs.
Yeah. Sometimes though, when it comes to NECA and their quality of plastic, the China bootleg isn't that far off, and might be better depending on the example that you get.
Yeah, so some are actual bootlegs, and sometimes the stuff you get from China is just old stock of NECA that hasn't sold. Like that's how I've picked up a few things over the years. It's an original box and genuine figure, just like you'd call it like old factory stock or unsold stock or whatever.
Yeah, you might see some packaging defects or things like that, misprints of names and stuff.
Most of the ones I got were like 100% good, like they were just like a retail thing. But yeah, there's a few weird bootlegs and stuff around. I was looking at this one on eBay this week. I like his little kind of pearlescent look on him. He was quite shiny, and he had other tints when you got down to his legs and the lips.
It's like he has a light up green visor as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. But it's not a bad looking bootleg, really. Of course, the favorite one from years ago was the old Robocop. It's like that one. That was an infamous bootleg, Robocop.
I think what I like the most about this bootleg is that above the word Robocop, it says Righteousness Fighter.
Yeah, the Righteousness Fighter. And where it says talking, it's got the big, sexy lips. Just like.
Yes. And he does look
have very luscious lips, though, the Piguela.
Yeah, Directive 4 by the bootlegs.
Yeah, and that's that scene, of course, from the first film where the guy's robbing the store, and it has all the Marvel comics, which includes the Robocop Marvel comic is in there too.
There you go. Easter egg.
Yeah.
Bonus.
But this is my highly technical checklist of when I was looking up stuff over the last 2 weeks. I've reread a hell of a lot of comics in the last couple of weeks for like Robocop, Terminator, Aliens, Predator. Like we know about the movies, of course, but what's everything else that comes after the movies? Like, did each of these movies get sequels? Yes. In some cases, they've got more than one sequel. Thinking of the 80s and 90s, year 2000 basically being our cutoff before, I don't know, ridiculous movies like the post-2000 Terminator movies. And comics, every category got ticked here. All these properties got comics in the 90s. Animation, only Robocop got an animation, and we got two. You got one at the beginning of the decade, one at the end of the 90s. None of these other properties got animations, but we did get Alien, Predator, Terminator toy lines that all looked very animation and comic style decos. We got things like busts and mini statues. As we got to the end of the decade, we started to get like McFarlane Movie Maniacs did quite a few figures that were like kind of like non-moving statues more than figures. And some of the random stuff we had live show or theme park attraction. Some of these properties did have like Terminator 3D. James Cameron had extra footage shot for that. I forget which studio it goes to, but you know, whether it was Universal or MGM or whoever, whichever studio was hosting the thing. And there were some, not so much rides as like live shows or temporary seasonal performances that included things like an Aliens kind of like live action role playing walkthrough area, and appearances of Predator or Robocop in various places, including WCW, of course,
Right.
as well as some actual
Rescues
film
Sting.
studio appearances. But yeah, the Aliens one sounded kind of cool. I'm sure that's on some of the DVD extra sets. I think they mentioned about that, and it looked kind of cool. Like that looked probably about the best of all this miscellaneous stuff.
Yeah, I remember, and this is just so. I'm actually glad that you did look into this stuff, and
I was
'cause
trying to think
wasn't
what else
expecting-
there was, because it's stuff I haven't seen. I don't live in America. I don't in many of these film studios, you like you like your Universal Studios. Come on down and walk around and see the theme parks, that kind of shit.
I was I must have been. Oh, I was very young anyway, and this would have been the early 90s. I was in the barbers getting my hair cut back during the time when I actually would get haircuts, and I was waiting, and you're sitting around waiting. There's magazines, and I pick up a magazine. It's an Empire film magazine, and they have like a 6-page feature dedicated to that alien war.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like a ghost train, but you're walking through sort of thing, like that sort of effect. Like
It looked
claustrophobic things
great.
popping out.
It looked amazing. Apparently, so first of all, they had loads of actors that are there playing Marines that kind of
Marines,
hustle you
yeah,
through
yeah. I remember seeing footage of
corridors.
that. It's been so many years, but I think that rings a bell.
And they also have, like you said, it's kind of like the haunted house deal where once you walk into a certain area, it might activate a sensor or something. So like an animatronic alien will come through the
Yeah,
wall, or something will happen to give you a fright and move you on to the next section. But it looked like great fun, to be honest with you. And I'll just always remember that I the whole time in the barbers waiting to get my haircut, just reading about it and thinking, oh, I would love to
yeah,
go
that'd
and
be
visit
awesome.
this. And it was in London at the time, and yeah, it just looked amazing.
But
And if
yeah,
anybody is interested in the Terminator one that Johnny was just mentioning, if you go on to YouTube, if you don't have the DVD or the Blu-ray, if you do go on to YouTube, you can watch all of that Terminator 3D battle across time.
nice.
They have all the footage, from the experience. If you are interested in seeing it, pretty entertaining stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that they'd made extra little bits of footage just for that attraction. That's nice. We're gonna, excuse me, a little bit of cough. I'm gonna play a little clip here showing off some intros before we move on to the other topics and that. The Robocop animations. So I'm gonna play a clip of that.
Officer Alex J. Murphy and his partner Ann Lewis fight to rid the decaying city of the criminal element which infests it. After being mortally wounded in the line of duty, Officer Murphy is outfitted by OCP with bulletproof titanium robotic parts and with computer-enhanced motor and sensory capabilities. He has become the ultimate super cop, Robocop. justice has a new name.
Don't be alarmed, sir. I'm saving your life.
Part man.
No, we dance.
Part machine.
Blast him!
The adventure begins with the new hero of the 21st century.
Officer, it is a crime to interfere with federal authorities.
Join forces with Robocop, Alpha Commando.
Awesome! Activating blue gun.
Check out the Robocop toy line at a KB store near you.
He's traveled across time and space. Finally, he's here. The ultimate Terminator. He looks mean. He sounds mean.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And with the awesome hand blaster, he's a real mean machine. The ultimate Terminator for the ultimate Terminator adventure.
I'll be back.
Terminator 2, the future warrior brought back to save our world. His mission to destroy the evil T-1000. In his mobile assault vehicle, Terminator scours the streets for his deadly foe. Adios, amigo. It's the ultimate confrontation as power-armed Terminator faces certain death, only to return stronger and more powerful as Techno-Punch Terminator. Hasta la vista, baby. Terminator 2.
Terminator!
I'm back. Got to find John Connor.
But evil T-1000 gets to him first.
Hey, back off!
Terminator's heavy metal cycle zeroes in and fires. But T-1000 stands to get even.
This is for getting on my bad side. You're next, John Connor. I'm back.
Terminator deploys his secret weapon.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Terminated!
This time.
Terminator is back.
They're unstoppable! But we're gonna stop them anyway! Send in the Marines! We're the Space Marines! Drake, Ripley, 8-Bone, Bishop, and I'm Hicks, armed with the latest high-tech heavy metal.
Look out, Hicks! The Queen's gonna crown ya! My bug rocker's on a roll! Bull alien attacking! Eat torch, bug brain!
Alien invasion problem? Send in the Marines!
Aliens!
Send in the Marines!
Space Marines! Aliens!
Dreaded beast versus the savage hunter. Aliens versus Predator with awesome new Predators. Clan leader attacks with whipping dreadlocks. And Stalker, glowing in the dark, fires his spear. Suddenly, flipping up his attack spikes the wild boar alien charges. And the ferocious mother alien in her monstrous hive traps Spiketail, then covers him in ooze.
Ooze 'em!
Who will survive? Aliens versus Predator. Queen Hive playset comes with mother alien figure and ooze. Other figures sold separately.
The signal goes out.
An intruder has been spotted at Wayne Manor.
Down in the Batcave Command Center, it's time for Gotham's greatest hero. Batman returns.
Not a bad nest.
Batman makes a crashing entrance and sends the Penguin flying back to his Arctic hideout. Without warning, Batman appears.
Surprise, Penguin!
Pity penguins can't fly. Batman returns. Batcave Command Center and figures sold separately. Some assembly required.
Gigantic gorilla Optimus Primal transforms with double cannons firing. T-Rex Megatron transforms with pulverizing claw and twin missile launchers. Each sold separately.
Yeah, a lot of gimmicks, a lot of cool toy ads there. And of course, the end too, Kenner also made Batman and Beast Wars, and that's kind of seeing the evolution of some of their toy gimmicks and more, cool stuff they were putting out.
Yeah, we saw the old exploding body feature reused once again there from one of those B1000. They just love that gimmick.
I thought they did a good job in those Terminator ads, kind of just showing like a kind of diorama background and this kind of movie style. Like they were cool ads.
It's funny though. At the beginning, I was like, when we were looking at pictures of the Robocop toys, I was like, oh, I never watched Robocop Alpha Commando, but then as soon though as the ad played, I was like, oh, I actually have seen this. I must have just blanked it from my memory.
Yeah.
But the animation looks really nice. Looking back,
Yeah, the intro does. I know the show looks. It's got a real anime Batman Beyond kind of look to it.
Yeah, I must actually check it out and give it another chance. I
On
imagine
YouTube.
in 98 or 99, I was probably being a bit like, oh, I'm too cool for that type of Robocop.
Yeah, it's a nice looking show. I don't know about the writing, but the look of it's very nice. I'm going to watch it all this year because I downloaded it off YouTube about a month ago when I found it on there. Someone's got it on a channel. The whole thing's on there.
I have to say as well, fair play to the people who produced the Terminator commercials, because they really get the most out of those gimmicks that they're showcasing, and also they
Yeah.
manage to portray like acts of violence without kind of indicating that any life was lost. Like, the Terminator will shoot his missile to knock a rock on top of the T-1000.
I love
Everything's
seeing
fine.
Arnold hooning around in a sports car with a giant missile, and it's a little different than my memories of being on the the chopper, the bike.
I don't know, looking at that sports car now, I'm kind of tempted. I do remember playing with my cousin's one, and it does have that awesome looking like chrome endoskeleton skull on the bonnet. It's just a cool looking
Yeah.
vehicle. And hopefully the rocket launcher is removable, so you can just have it in sleek sports car mode,
Yeah. So yeah, the theme park stuff and kind of other media appearances outside of like real life stuff, and of course we got back into the old comic books, particularly Dark Horse in the 90s. The Predator was a very busy lad. He was all over the place.
There's always something versus Predator.
Yeah.
He's just having an
Predator
awful time.
versus Predator.
Yeah.
Ultimate movie.
So yeah, as I mentioned before we started recording, we were having a wee chat. I hadn't read any of the Archie versus Predator, but as you explained to me, they're actually fairly modern, which I can kind of see
Yeah,
now.
I
Even
thought they
looking
were
at
older, but they're from the last 10 years.
But yeah, most of this other stuff I have read and reread over the years. I will actually say, and I'm ashamed to say it, because it's something that's such an obviously good crossover that would work. I have actually not read any of the Tarzan versus Predator. I
Yeah, that
would
one's
like
good.
to though.
The Tarzan one and the Magnus one are both good because they're both pulp style characters. I mean, Tarzan's an actual pulp character. Magnus is a modern character created in a pulp style. But they both do that sort of 1940s style comic book feel very, very well. The crossover works for both of those.
And the Superman versus Predator was quite an enjoyable story. It's like everything else. When it came to these crossovers, especially with the Superman and Batman ones, the first couple were actually very good, but with the
Yeah, there's
Superman
real
ones
top talent
especially,
working
it
on them.
just they kind of fizzled out a bit in terms of the quality, especially with the Superman. For some reason, I think it was hard for them to
Yeah.
come up with a scenario where to make Superman on an even playing field with the Predator. Like, I know in the first story, they kind of have it that when Superman is encountering the Predator, that he's also being weakened by like a kind of weird alien substance that's coming off the
Yeah.
crashed spaceship. So it explains why he's more kind of on an even keel when it comes to fighting with the Predator. Because let's be honest, like Superman would absolutely murder a Predator in
Just
a normal
flick him with his
one-on-one
finger
fight.
like this.
Yeah, yeah. Blow
The
him
Alien
away, he's
one
gone.
made sense because in the Alien story, it wasn't on Earth. Superman has powers under the red sun, but when he's away in a different galaxy, if there's not a red sun, powers go goodbye. Just a regular man.
Yeah, yeah. It was it worked. It definitely worked. The first Predator versus Judge Dredd is an excellent
Yeah, I
crossover
reread
as
that
well.
this week. That was great. I wish I could own that, but even the trades are out of print and really high prices on eBay. So I hope it gets reprinted someday. But
I
now it's
think what I
changed to
like
Marvel,
about
so
what I like about the Predator versus Judge Dredd, I think the most is not only can it work as a kind of a sequel to what you saw in the Predator movies, but it's a nice little sequel to the original Predator comics that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago as well. You know, that concrete jungle that has Arnie's twin, Dutch's twin, but it's actually, if I recall correctly, in the Predator versus Judge Dredd comic, it's like his great grandniece or something is the main character. So
yes,
they're
yes,
kind of
that's right.
throwing back to the original
So
Dark
actually
Horse run.
saying that female character is actually related to Dutch, that's cool. That actually follows it on from that.
Very cool. Very cool. Some great covers here. I actually have
Yeah,
the Aliens versus Predator versus the Terminator that's hanging on my wall at the moment. That issue 1, I always love the cover of that
nice.
one, just to see the 3 of them together. Even if the
Yeah,
comic itself is a little bit disappointing for
yeah, it's a
me,
bit average.
I'll not lie. I'll tell you the main reason it disappoints me is it's because it's set in the Alien Resurrection
Oh god, is
universe,
it?
which
Oh yeah, that's why you've got those buff androids.
yeah, and like Ripley's in it, but it's like clone Ripley
Is-
from Alien Resurrection, and it's just I don't know. Alien Resurrection. I'm
yeah,
not going to go off on a tangent here, but we'll tackle it someday. But it always leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth.
the
Anytime,
only thing
anytime
I
I talk about.
like about that movie is like you get to see some aliens swimming underwater. It looks kind of cool, and Ron Perlman's in it. And that's my
Yeah, yeah,
highlights. It's like Blade
yeah.
2, but it's Alien.
Yes, yeah. You get some cool creature designs and sets and stuff, but
Yeah,
yeah, compared to
that's
what,
about it.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
fairly horrible
exactly,
movie otherwise.
yeah. But we'll deal with it someday, folks. Don't you worry.
Oh yeah, we'll get to.
We'll really get
But yeah,
into it.
the Predator's a very busy fellow, and of course he wasn't just battling these guys. He was hanging out with Batman, which was one of the major crossovers of this era that kicked off all the DC superhero ones. Was the original Batman versus Predator, and that's an awesome book. It's one of my favorite comics ever. Still
So
got the
good.
first edition trade of that I bought in the 90s, and I've read it many
And
times.
it's such a high quality story. And I will also say about the Batman crossover, excuse me, unlike Superman, the Batman stories actually stay at a high quality. They
Mm.
remain solid. And I think it might be the second part or the third part of Batman versus Predator where the Predator comes across Mr. Freeze and he can't see Mr. Freeze in his heat vision. It's just a really nice little moment there. Yeah, great story. Love Batman versus Predator. Batman is such a perfect foe for the Predator as well as far as human
Mm.
fighters go because he's highly trained. He's got access to military grade gadgets and
Gadgets,
stuff to fight
tools,
the Predator with.
technology like the Predator.
Yeah,
I like in
really,
the
really cool crossover.
And the nice thing in the trade editions is you get the collected covers, and there's loads of pinups in the back, and there's loads of alternate covers. There's like I don't know, there's at least 4 covers, alternate covers of just about every issue. So it's a real who's who of top comics talent doing all the like pinup art and stuff in the back, as well as like one of the Cubits worked on it, of course, and so awesome art, good writing, awesome, really really fun read. One I
Batman
didn't care
versus
for was the
Aliens is good.
Witchblade one. That was I didn't much care for that
Middle
one.
of the road. Middle of the road. At least you got a couple of
Mm.
good covers out of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's you. But the Batman versus Aliens is also a very good crossover.
Yeah,
I
that's
read that
decent
one
too.
pretty recently.
That's got more good classic like horror. Bernie Wrightson are there, so
I feel as well like the not to, once again not to go off on too much of a tangent, but the AVP movie that they released, I felt kind of ripped off the Batman versus Aliens story a little bit, where
yeah,
if I remember correctly, like in the Batman one, a ship crashes somewhere in like near some Aztec pyramid
yeah,
in the
that's
middle of
right.
the jungle, and Bruce Wayne goes out to investigate what happened to some like Wayne Tech workers who were investigating what happened, blah blah blah. But it's a very similar setup to the AVP movie where you've got these aliens on Earth before the actual Alien movies, and
Yeah,
it's all covered up by the end of it. There's a lot of hullabaloo and also, but it's a really fun story, and we get to see an awesome hybrid, or it's not really a hybrid. It's just what happens when a facehugger attaches itself to an alligator, and we get this crazy big monstrous alligator alien, which I always thought was very cool.
but yeah, I enjoyed majority of these crossovers in the 90s. I read a lot of them, like Batman Predator 1 and 2. I've still got the trades of. I've always had them since then, and it was a big trend. They were doing a lot of crossovers in this kind of when comics are in up to in the 90s. We had Judge Dredd and Predator, several crossovers. You had like Batman crossing over with Spider-Man, Batman Daredevil. There was just heaps of crossovers. You had Fantastic Four, Galactus. You had Green Lantern, Aliens, and there was just so many crossovers.
And they all felt like a big deal. It's kind of hard to articulate maybe to someone who's a bit younger than us watching this, because these days so much stuff is now owned by the same entity anyway.
A lot of mixed
Like
media.
there's like, like someday we're probably going to be seeing like Alien and Star Wars crossovers and stuff like that, 'cause it's all going to be owned, like, Marvel owns all these, like it's all under the one umbrella,
There'll be one
and it's just
gelatinous
not as
blob one day.
yeah. Whereas back then, back in the 90s, it kind of was a big deal when you'd see,
It was, because you had
new
some stuff in the 70s like Batman, Hulk, or Superman, Superman, Spider-Man crossover. Then it was very early 81. There was a Batman, Hulk, and that was kind of a big deal. This is like big icons crossing over. And then you had virtually nothing for a decade. But then in the 90s, we had a lot of DC Marvel crossovers, as well as other intercompany crossovers.
like I know probably it almost got to the point of parody maybe as well, especially like with Predator. Like I saying, like it's Predator versus everyone at some point. It's
Yeah,
just like
Archie back over here.
any property you can think of versus Predator.
Because they had Punisher Archie in the 90s, and that was a very wacky comic. You're like, what the hell is this? And it feels like the Archie Predator covers are very in the style of that Punisher Archie, which was completely non-violent like a cartoon. But the Archie Predator, surprisingly, is actually violent, and they basically all die horribly in it, just like the Predator movies. And I thought it was going to be like comical or something, but it's not.
Yeah, I must give it a read one of these days.
Quite
I
grim.
do have a digital copy of them, so yeah, some of these covers are excellent, though. I have to say.
I wish some more of this stuff wasn't out of print, because they did sometime in the last few years they did DC Dark Horse big kind of like thick phone book reprints, but even those are out of print again now. So because I don't have any of the Superman Aliens books, and there's a few other ones I'd like to have, but they're all out of print.
Yeah, they can be quite difficult to come by. Sometimes though, when you search for these and you're looking for them as trade, the trades are just, they're very expensive. But sometimes if you get lucky, if you just look for literally the single issues across a few
Yeah, the
different
single
comic
issues you
book
can
sellers.
find easier than the trades, because
Yeah.
I think there was probably
And if-
more of them. They're printed
Yeah.
more, whereas the trades would have been a much smaller run years later.
And if you don't mind, maybe not getting them all together at once, but if you keep an eye out over time, you can pick up the full stories handily enough.
And some of these, like the Batman Aliens, for example, that was what you'd call a prestige format book. It wasn't technically a graphic novel, but it was printed on high glossy magazine paper and would cost 3 times what a regular monthly comic cost. Yet it had a higher page account, but it did make them feel a bit more special that they had glossier paper and thicker card stock on the books. It made them feel a bit nicer. I've still got probably about 10 or 15 different Batman ones from the 90s that were all Batman Marvel crossovers like that. Batman Captain America, that was probably the best one they did.
Yeah, this is a good crossover.
Yeah, this was a really cool crossover that actually had a decent story and cool art, and there was a whole lot of concepts in here that were kind of like comics, movie stuff that went into a video game, stuff that we got used in the toys, and just a whole bunch of ideas went into this very brief mini series that you could read in, probably like half an hour. You could read all 4 of these.
Yeah, and they released, it was probably back in like 2014 or 2015, I think. I picked up a really nice kind of hardcover collection of all of these with kind of nice kind of supplementary
I've never had it.
material.
I wish I had it. Did they do a foil cover on that first issue? I'm not sure if they did one.
It feels like something they would have done.
I think there might have been an alternate one that had a foil cover, just looking at the angle and like this chest and the thing. I don't know. They did a hell of a lot of foil covers and stuff back then. I'm not sure if there was one on that or not.
It's going to be a collector's item. It'll make you a millionaire in the future if you get this foil cover variant.
I had, all the crazy gimmick covers they did in the 90s. They did die cut where they'd cut bits of the cover and it would fold and stuff. They did fold out pages. Wolverine versus Sabretooth that fold out. There was 4 pages and it was like a bloody Penthouse or Playboy Centerfold. They would do holograms on the cover, like a little disc or some of the trading card. But one time I had one that combined so many crazy gimmicks into one Spider-Man annual or whatever the hell it was. It had 2 covers, and it had cardboard pieces that were cut out like a spider that you could see through to the cover underneath. It had the hollow foil stuff, and it had like 4 or 5 gimmicks, all this one crazy cover. It got so over the top with all the like gimmicky stuff and acetate cover and hollow foil and hologram, and it was crazy.
Some of them looked really cool though.
Yeah, some of them look really cool, but just where they combined so many gimmicks into one book is like, oh man, and it costs like 5 times the price, and it's like doesn't take that long to read. But yeah, this mini series, and I don't know a whole lot behind the scenes of how this all happened and went about, whether it was created to tie in with the game or whether the game tied in with the comic, because it's the same. Basically, it's the same era and same media and art gets used across different things. Years later, we got some NECA toys, but from this Robocop Terminator storyline. You see, he's got the mini gun on his back. We got this Terminator Robo Dog. We get a hybrid Robo Terminator drone thing, and of course, he's got the missile stuff on his back. And here's a cool cover for the Japanese release, which is using the comic book art there. Awesome. And then we've got, yeah, I've only seen this today the first time, but for once, I think us folks in the Europe and America and Australia who used to get terrible covers on PAL video games compared to the American and Japanese ones. Usually, Japanese would have really nice artwork, but for once, we got an awesome cover because it's just like, here's a film still and another one just jabbed on there in the logo, but on black, and it works.
I just love this game back in the day. As difficult as it is a fucking tough
so
game.
Hard. The first 2 or 3 levels are okay, and after that, it just starts kicking your ass really badly.
And this was my first introduction to the idea of a crossover between Robocop versus Terminator. It would be years later before I discovered the comic. So the game on the Mega Drive was
to me. Like, I got this second hand, and I
mind-blowing.
was very lucky to get it because games were so expensive in New Zealand.
And it's they just merged together perfectly, and everything. It's just like all the stars have aligned here because they're, especially it's the first 2 movies, so they're both under Orion Studios for the licensing. And
you've got Terminator 1, Arnie, and that look. He's got the gloves with the no knuckle and the reflection in the glasses or the light. I love that it's got that look because it makes it just so much of that era.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
I
Like I said,
remember
a real bollocks of a game, but still, it's great fun.
I remember the first time I played it before I actually owned it was in a video game shop in town, and they would have stuff on display, and like a booth thing where it'd have the control. You could play like the new game and go out and hang out. And I'd go there with my mate, and we'd just look at what the new games were and talk and that. And playing it in the shop, and it was like, I didn't know what it was, and until I started playing, I'm like, oh, it's Robocop. And when I was playing it, I was thinking, oh, it's probably Robocop 3 or whatever, because there was a Robocop 3 video game on Mega Drive as well as a heap of other Robocop and Terminator games. And I was playing thinking, oh, this isn't bad. This is kind of similar to the other Robocops and the arcade games and that. And I'm going along shooting things going, man, this is kind of gory. There's quite a bit of blood and there's screaming and explosions. And you get to the end of the stage, because it had been on the shop. I didn't see the title screen because someone had played it and then it's just sitting there. And I get to the end of the stage and I'm like, I'm fighting this robot thing and you're shooting it. And the end stage boss, all the bits of flesh and stuff start coming off it and it falls over and dies. And then it gets up again, and then it dies, and it gets up, and all the flesh gets shot off. And I'm like, that's a fucking Terminator. And I was thinking, are they ripping off the Terminator? And eventually I got to see the title screen, and I'm like, oh, it's an actual crossover game. I thought, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's so
cool. It does say on the cover there, it says based on the Frank Miller, blah, 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 Dark. Well, there you go. So the comic was first. I knew the story and concepts are all the same stuff. But as far as the timeline of when it started production, I don't know.
There was also as well, shortly after this time, there was a serious possibility that there was going to be a Robocop versus Terminator movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in magazines.
There was a lot of talk that they're in the process of getting it done, but it just never happened. The stars unfortunately did not align, and
The
well, maybe
same
it's
with
a good
Alien
thing.
versus Predator rumors for years for a movie long before those actual films existed. Completely different projects.
Who knows though? It's hard to say if it would have turned out. Like I like we can only really speculate. Like would they have even been able to get Arnold Schwarzenegger? Would they have been able to get Peter Weller?
Yeah,
You
who
kind of
knows?
need those two together to make it work, I think, if it was ever going to work on screen.
Yeah, I'd
We
play
got
the game.
Robocop 3.
But... What's that?
There was like yeah, like the magazines at the time. I do remember even the Sega magazine doing a feature on the up and coming Robocop versus Terminator movie, all based on rumor and speculation.
Yeah, there was a lot of like rumors about potential movies and other stuff in that. Yeah, I remember reading like you get like magazines and comic shops, especially import ones, would be speculating about this and that property, and depending on who had bought up what license and what might happen and might not happen.
Yeah, the Spider-Man, I remember in like the mid-90s, they were just talking about this movie.
The
It's
James
definitely
Cameron
coming. Yeah. This is a great spread right here.
Yeah, like every major, there was a lot of video games back then. And you had like EGM, you had Game Pro, you had computer and video games, you had Mean Machines, or there was, and then you had multi-platform ones as well as dedicated Sega and Nintendo magazines. Crazy amount of magazines.
I'm just I'm looking at the whole kind of style of this layout because I just remember these magazines with such fondness, even going way back one of our earlier episodes when we were talking about just old games in general. Just it's a totally lost world of this type of stuff. When you don't really know anything, you're dependent on these kind of print publications to tell you about stuff
Yes.
that's coming out. It's just you
and all
just
the
wouldn't
ads,
know
the ads
otherwise.
that would lie to you.
Yeah. And just the speculation, you're looking at this one still from a 16-bit image and your imagination is just running wild as to how cool this game would be if I just got a chance to play it, if I could just get my hands on it.
There's
Which, to
plenty
be
other
fair
games
to
that
this
look
game,
nice
was
that
very
aren't good, but this looked nice and played well and was just a good soundtrack too, kind of like techno-ish like soundtrack.
Yeah, real hard-hitting, pumping soundtrack. Oh,
And
it's a fantastic game.
Like Mortal Kombat, there was a cheat code to actually increase the gore and violence.
As if it wasn't gory enough already, because it was pretty gory.
Yeah, it was. Like people just explode into buckets of blood when you shoot them. But they're all nasty street gangs, like on Robocop style, and there's drug, like drug gangs in it.
Guys like stick their arm out the window and you like blow their arm off.
Yeah.
Blood everywhere. Yeah, more magazine.
It got good, pretty high ratings for most of the ones that reviewed it and that. And there's lots of cool boss battles. You fight Ed 209 several times. You fight Kane in the game. When you kill the Ed 209, its weapon drops off and you can pick up his gun arm as a weapon, and it's massive. It's like half the size of Robocop.
Yeah, it's fast that you're actually able to do that. And it's like if I remember correctly as well, it follows that kind of usual formula where the earlier bosses you kind of fought at the beginning start coming back as like regular enemies or like mid-level bosses later on just to make things harder.
And you have you can hold two weapons at any time, but his base weapon is just as like kind of machine pistol thing that he has in the movie. But every single gun has rapid fire, and you can have like homing missiles. I think there's a flamethrower or not. There's something as a laser. There's a laser gun that's pretty powerful, and there's machine guns, and there's a heap of different cool weapons. It's like Contra. You got to like switch them up to use the right weapons on a certain level or for a boss battle. Otherwise, you just get the steamrolled.
And also like your basic level gun is infinite ammo. Is that right? Like your
Yes,
pistol,
yes, it
you
has
can
infinite
start
ammo,
off with.
so you don't. So you've always got something. So it's so fast paced because Robocop's slow in the movies, but in this game he moves real fast, and you can almost not quite swing, but he kind of repels over these
Yes.
cables in a lot of areas, and you actually build up momentum. Not unlike Spider-Man swinging in a Spider-Man game and going quite fast and jumping onto other areas and platforms. So it's a really fast-paced game. But you can slow down. There's a lot of platforming, but having the unlimited bullets on your main gun, plenty of weapon pickups all over the place. So it's definitely slower paced than Contra, where you're moving non-stop because you've got to go vertically up and down, explore the levels. But just the pacing of it and the style and the gore and the violence is just so good.
Yeah, top notch. Definitely one of my favorite Mega Drive games, easily.
And the controls of it are like
Such a fun
perfect, like the
game.
shooting and the jumping on ladders and stuff. It controls so perfectly and really smooth.
Yeah, really just well balanced, well thought out game. Love it. As reflected
And
in
it
the
did,
rating it got here, an overall rating of 90. You know, that's
yeah,
nothing to sniff at.
yeah. And it was also on Super Nintendo, but it's technically the same game with minor differences, but the sound is totally different, and the Mega Drive is like the definitive version, especially because the sounds of the Mega Drive are more like the electronic music sounds are much better compared to Super Nintendo does more better orchestral style music with its sound chips and that. And there was one case. Usually, the Super Nintendo will be better. Like Street Fighter, always better on the Super Nintendo. Sounds better, looks better. But this one sounds better and looks better on Mega Drive. And the Super Nintendo one just does not. It feels like you're playing a bootleg of a real game or something. It doesn't. Everything feels off of it. Everything's not quite right. And there's even like some kind of Master System conversion as well of this, like Master System Game Gear.
Wow. Yeah, didn't think they'd have a version for that format.
Yeah,
But I'd imagine as well with the
must be
SNES
smaller,
one, they
like
probably
not as many levels.
did they have less score on the Nintendo one? They probably did.
I believe so, because it was in that time where other than remember, it had Mortal Kombat 1 no gore, then Mortal Kombat 2 they went the other way and like, oh, we've got to get all the gore because Sega's outselling us too much.
Yeah. Blood cells.
And the same magazine, same issue, same month here, they're advertising The Terminator, which was confusing because this game came out years earlier, but it's a re-release for Sega CD, so that's why they were advertising it. A bit of a cross promotion for the re-release of this
Another
game.
fun game.
Another difficult game.
Yeah, tough going.
They also had Terminator 2 Arcade, of course, had the 2 mounted like machine guns. That was a fun one based around T2. And another popular one was the pinball. The pinball was very popular. A lot of people played that machine and liked it. And if you would get angry and whack the machine, as people do when they get pissed off, they actually a voice clip actually goes "chill out" if you smash the machine. Because some of them pinballs will go tilt and you'll lose the ball if you hit it to discourage you from damaging the machine.
That's a nice touch.
But yeah,
Our old friends are
full
back here.
circle back to the aliens again.
Once again, I would love one of these diorama setups they have.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Wouldn't be too hard to do, I guess, if you got the right kind of plastics or I don't know, particle board or something you can paint easy, and then some nice LED lighting.
If you've got the tools, the time, and the talent, you can do all of this stuff.
But probably most importantly, the space. If you got the space to put it in,
exactly.
Most of us don't.
Yeah.
Got an empty house you can turn to a museum of toys, then how about you? Make it.
I love looking at these. They're so colorful and vibrant.
I love to have the catalog because this is a big those made for retailer catalogs. The wide format, like not unlike a widescreen or an art book, and they're all in that real high glossy magazine, thick paper. So they're really luxurious. Like if you go on eBay, these old ones are sold for like $100-200. People have sold these for when they've picked them up. And there was masses of these, of course, 80s, 90s for like toy shows and conventions and that. When I say conventions, it's a retailer buy conventions, not open to the public.
Yeah, Yeah, but you'll pay a
They're
pretty
just
penny
he got
these
those
days.
lube ones. He's got some of those lube ones, like for showing off products.
Yeah, it was great watching Badger's Galoob catalog footage last week when we did the show. Some
Yeah, it
great
was
little
awesome.
pieces
That was
there.
such a awesome bit of bonus stuff to get that, because I didn't know it was going to happen, if he was going to have time to do anything like that. And I just said, you're certainly welcome to chip in with some expertise on the micro scale stuff, because I do the stuff the stuff you showed in the catalog. I do remember seeing some of that stuff now back in the stores, the micro machines, because they had at the same time they had some of the Star Trek stuff. I remember some of the because my mate had some of the micro machine Star Trek miniatures.
Yeah, I remember seeing it but never owning it, but always wanting it. It's just one of those, you had to make a decision. Do you get like a few cheap things, or do you get this one expensive thing? And oftentimes a few cheap things wins. Yeah, here's your most recent haul, I believe.
Yeah, I've got a bunch more than this, but mainly I just want to show off that this Predator came in the mail this week. So, nice card
Really
art
nice.
there. And it was nice to
Really,
and I just had an idea today. I went, I've got a Kenner, Terminator, and a Ripley, and a Predator, and an Alien. I can put it all. They can all cross over in this one image here.
Perfect.
And of course,
love
the face
hard
hanging
art on these.
out in the corner.
Yeah,
And
sneaky blues face over.
Little cameo from this fella here is over in the corner, just hanging out.
Yeah, best in the world.
Yeah, that's where he sits. He's just been there for about a month or so now, hanging out with the other wrestlers.
He's old, he's tired, and he works with Kenner toys.
He works with machines. I like that I was able to get this cheap Terminator, because I was buying Aliens toys and someone had this in a mixed lot, so that's how I ended up with that one. And it's in good condition. It's got both the arms, both the heads. I think it's got all the accessories, and it's actually in really nice shape. And I just shoved him into the Aliens little tank thing. He's slightly big for it, but he still fits in there. So
I think he looks good. Yeah,
why not? Bit of a Reavers style, like in the X-Men.
Yeah, I got definite Reavers vibes off him here.
But yeah, I really enjoy this card art. I mean, I've opened up the Ripley and that, but I sliced the thing and I've left it in there for storage now, so I didn't want to damage the arms and that, because those hands can be kind of fragile.
Yeah. He's scrawny armed as our Ripley.
But yeah, I'll play another little clip here, which we did see at last week's show when we did a big epic aliens thing, but this is only a very short one. Just having a quick show off of the alien toys.
Fired.
Ship the Terminator.
Fun toys.
Yeah, love the wacky
Ripley.
designs.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed picking up more of these aliens.
Yeah, I love that wild boar alien, as I mentioned last week, and your night cougar there as well. The two gorilla aliens going to war. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, still waiting on the other ones in the mail. I'm waiting for that mantis, scorpion, a third gorilla, and something else I forget that was in the mixed lot from America. Hopefully it turns up next week, because it's been like 6 weeks now. Just where is it?
Yeah, hurry up.
It's just sitting in customs or something, because at least eventually it will turn up. Maybe it's a few extra battle damage marks in it when they slice into things. But
Yeah, some nice little lineup here of the aliens and predators.
yeah, I'm still keen to try and get the Rhino alien, which is not too easy. There's none. Like, if I want to get it, got to try and get it from America. There's nothing for South Australia. And that killer crab one, I'd like to try and get that one as well. If I get those two, I'm pretty happy with what I got.
Some of these predator designs are wacky. I've pretty much a lot of these in the NECA form.
Yeah,
they're
like I got
beautiful.
the one in the middle is called, look on the wall, spiked tail predator, and that kind of gold armor with the brown helmet. And I've got one of the other ones loose. I think it's the guy on the very left going by the skin tone, but I don't have the helmet or anything. But I got him for the other one I got loose for $10 or something. So I was like, yep, I'll have that.
Yeah, I'll take that deal. Looks like the scorpion alien in this picture has had someone take a black marker and paint over his
Yeah, it does actually. Don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, the scorpion alien was awesome. Like, my mate had that back in the 90s and he traded it to me at some point for something. And I remember mucking with that gimmick so many times and putting it back on and press the button and watching him explode over and over again.
Yeah, I love the way he has actual guts. Like he's just like
Yeah,
guts inside him, you know?
yeah, it's like all red inside, like guts.
Yeah, so colorful. I just love these figures from this era. Like, the hell with screen accuracy. We don't need it. We just need to take a random animal and make him a xenomorph.
Yeah, if you only ever watch the films, you're kind of like, what the hell's going on with this stuff? But if you read the Dark Horse comics, there's a heap of stuff like this in Dark Horse comics, like aliens, different colors, different shapes, sizes, animal themes. They did a heap of stuff in the comics. And when it's on, especially on different alien worlds, it makes sense too.
Yeah. No, it definitely makes sense. And it just makes things interesting as well. Like looking at it purely even from if you are a child and you're playing with your toys, do you just want a load of like aliens that are all just black or dark gray? It's not very exciting, It's nice to have a bit of color and pizzazz in your toy lineup.
Yeah, as far as other media, also we got a lot of Alien and Predator comics from Dark Horse in the 90s, and eventually we got an ongoing Aliens versus Predator series, which was quite decent and expanded upon a lot of the lore and characters. And in addition to that, we also got various novels, like just like how you'd get like back in the day, like Star Trek novel, Doctor Who novel, by whoever. We'd get a Predator novel or an Alien novel, and occasionally they'd make a comic book and then make a novel version of the comic book. And I'm a bit of a head scratcher that one to me, because you can already read the comic. It's not like it's a film. You don't need to.
I'm guessing, I think we're
Different
joking about
markets,
this
I guess.
before we started recording. Yeah, it's just people may have had some type of stigma against reading a comic book, or maybe if you were doing slightly older, you looked upon comics as something that only kids read or something like that. I can
Get 'em
tell
in the
you for the
bookstores.
record, I pretty much read all the novels that are based on the
Right,
comics.
you
And,
can tell me the summaries like Wikipedia, because I do not like any kind of novels. I own one Wolverine novel I bought for $1. I've never read a page of it.
like for the most part, they stick to what's in the comic and just try and maybe flesh it out a bit more, descriptively and
Could read a
what people are
novella or a
thinking.
short thing, but all my life I've just never been a novel person. It's not they haven't got the attention span. I read 700,000 page books all the time, non-fiction books, but novels. If someone spends 2 pages describing something that I can see in 5 seconds in a film, I'm like, I'm going to watch the fucking film.
What I would say though to anybody, if you have up until now only really been aware of Aliens and Predator through the movies, the comics and the novels are definitely a good way to expand your lore, or expand at least
Yes.
your universe that these characters inhabit. They just work really well, and the early ones, especially the original run of Dark Horse AVP stuff, is really good. and then the
Yeah, I was
later
reading a heap
novels
this
were
week.
based off them. Yeah, just good stories, good solid stories, good action, good art. You can't go wrong.
Same as you had good Dark Horse Star Wars comics in the 90s too. They did a heap of good stuff, and I'm never been a Star Wars fan, but I remember seeing that back on the shelves then. That Dark Horse did so many good licensed properties, but they did them well. Majority of the time, they were good.
Yes.
They're not crap.
And I think sometimes, and once again, I'm trying not to go on crazy tangents here, but when it comes to properties like these, I think that's why people like myself can become a little bit cynical and bitter about new sequels and reboots and stuff.
Because when stuff goes to shit, it's
Yeah,
not
stuff
hard to
goes to
get
shit.
annoyed about it.
And but it's just one of those things where you're kind of like, how come when I was growing up that there was so much good material
It was
being
spoiled.
produced in the form of comics and novels? Why could you not have taken some of this creative
Yeah.
juice and actually made it into a movie or a show instead of just the dreck we get for some of the
Yeah.
stuff these days?
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about Alien and
But,
Predator, as Johnny
but
mentioned. I'm talking about
that's
Star
Hollywood
Wars.
in general. There's so much garbage that comes out that's just poorly written, and
And at the same time, at least we get to say that we do still have these comics and books to go back to. We don't have to watch these shitty new films and shows.
No.
We can actually just stay where we are and
I-
continue to reread the stuff that made us happy to begin
I,
with.
I found one show to actually enjoy this week that I haven't watched before. They did a number of years ago a Sabrina the Teenage Witch relaunch as a horror book. Also, they did an Archie one, and the show was damn good. It's like
I remember hearing about the show. I think my wife
it's
watched
like a
it.
mix
It was just
of
called
like
Sabrina.
yeah, it's like a mix of like the Adams Family and Scooby Doo. It's like and Veronica Mars. It's kind of like a mix of those things. It's really good, and it's quite comically dark, and it's not particularly violent, but occasionally it's gory. And it's very it's also like Tim Burton. If you like Tim Burton Adams Family, or as well as the original show, I'd say like Sabrina. It's a lot of that style.
Did it actually end, or was it cancelled, or what happened there with that show?
I
Sabrina
don't know.
show.
It got 4 seasons. I'm just up to the end of the first one, but I've been really enjoying it. And I did order the comic as well. It's like a single trade of like 9 issues. It was cheap, and I was like, "Yep, I'll grab that." It's by like a really the art's fantastic, and as far as I know, the show's based on that like comic pitch of the horror style, and it works really well. Apparently, there was a 70s. I mean, Sabrina goes back in the Archie comic, Archie the brand, as opposed to Archie the character, goes back several decades as a character. As an all ages kind of book. But in the 70s, apparently the horror style version was a brief relaunch in the 70s, and it's kind of partly based on that. But the modern comic is like the full kind of more, mature age or adult sort of content style.
Yeah, I got you.
The devil was
Looking
a
at some of
regular
these
character in
covers
the
here.
show.
Some of the art on these book covers is beautiful, I have to say.
Yeah, I like way up near the top right. I love that classic. That's one of the early trades where that predator on top where he's about to slice him. Like, I remember seeing that in the comic shop so many times, like that exact like trade edition.
Yeah, it's iconic, that picture.
And
I've always
they were
loved that
really
cover.
well known for a lot of painted art covers on a lot of Aliens and Predator books in the 90s. They would stand out on the shelf. You'd see it from across the shop, like, man, this is like something you could hang on the wall. It's not just another monthly cover. This is like a real work of art someone put a lot of effort into.
Yeah, I have actually it's like a collected, it's a Dark Horse release, but it's like a big coffee table book of just kind of collected artwork from the Aliens and Predator
Oh
series.
man,
It's got some
awesome.
really nice stuff in it.
Yeah, they put a lot of good books like that. I didn't know how much stuff Dark Horse put out art books. Like, I mean, I bought 2 He-Man ones of like vintage He-Man art, and they're both through the Dark Horse imprint. Those big oversized coffee table hardcovers.
Yeah, no, they do good stuff. Like apart from whatever material they're printing and publishing themselves, but even just when it comes to releasing like additional kind of supplementary, guides or cover art books and collections, they do a good job, Dark Horse, with that type of stuff.
Yeah, and they were one that also, in addition to all that licensed stuff, they're one of the early American companies to do manga books as well, to bring over manga stuff that hadn't been printed in America. Viz is the other like big one that's does a lot of stuff in America, but Dark Horse did some of the early Astro Boy, printed like 21 volumes of that. Used to read in the public library. So yeah, they were a good company. They did a lot of good quality product they put out.
I hope they continue to survive, and who knows, maybe
Yeah.
someday they'll get a new license or two that will propel their profits into the stratosphere again.
It's funny because I tried to buy some of the out of print trades of Dark Horse Alien Predator stuff, and then the newest edition from last year was a Marvel reprint of Dark Horse Predator Alien comics rather. And I didn't know what was
so
going
bizarre.
on. And I didn't know the license when Disney bought Fox. Apparently, Marvel can now publish Alien Predator comics, and they've done. I read those books last week. They weren't too bad as far as the new series. But it's weird seeing a Marvel book reprinting old Dark Horse stories.
Yeah, it's very strange.
But the paperback
Very
was good.
bizarre.
It's a good one of those epic collection ones where it was quite thick. There was nearly about 400 pages, and the print's good, and the coloring looks good in it. And
well, at least they're at least it's a way for people to get to read those Dark Horse stories, and
I
they're
hope
not
they
just
do some
being
Predator ones now.
Yeah, at least they're not just they haven't just disappeared into the void of time. It's good that people will get a chance to relive them.
There's like the Alien one last year. It was like the original first ever Dark Horse ones, but through the Marvel imprint. And there's volume 2 is coming out sometime. I don't know, this month. It's supposed to be in the middle of this year sometime.
And you remember with the Aliens ones, did they reprint them with the names of Hicks and Noose?
I don't know, because I've read the original ones, and I've read when they did those change the names. So I don't know offhand, but I imagine they would probably have the changed names, because I think once they did that, that was kind of ongoing as far as legality and licensing.
Yeah, I can take it either way. I understand why they did it, especially after Alien 3. It was confusing. It's like, wait a minute, I thought these two died at the start of Alien 3. How are they still going on all these adventures? You know, so
Yeah, I thought Alien 3 would have been much better if it had followed a James Cameron Aliens and not killed the characters who just went through all the who survived and went through all that horror to be killed off screen in between movies.
Yeah, it'll be. We'll tackle that one day. That'll be a bumper mega show, because there's so many versions of that movie that we could talk about.
Oh, the Wooden Planet, man. Wooden Planet, and at one point there was almost going to be a New Zealand director who was almost going to be involved as well.
I like this Life and Death cover for AVP. I said the Life and Death and the Fire and Stone and Life and Death crossover between Aliens, Predator, and Prometheus were actually very good comics.
Oh, I'm going to read that this week, actually, because I was going back reading older stuff, and occasionally I'd jump around and read some of the modern things.
It actually kind of made me enjoy Prometheus a bit more.
I watched that again last week, Prometheus. I watched it in the cinema, and I thought it was okay. And I didn't mind the idea of Ridley Scott going, okay, what Alien, but what about these engineers and space jockey and all? I thought, okay, that's interesting ideas. What I didn't care for was you get half a movie of that and some ideas, and the other half of it is just like a pretty shitty remake of the first Alien film. Beat for beat.
My main problem with both Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which came after it, is just that the films are filled with just shitty human characters that are really bland and not fleshed out, and
it feels
do
like
stupid things.
The whole film, like I don't hate those films, but they're not. I mean, the stupid thing is Prometheus is not an Alien film, right? It's going off in different directions. That's fine, but then the follow-up film, they call it Alien, and again, it's not really an Alien film. It's exploring other ideas. If it had been just another Dark Horse comic, it would have been fine. But as a whole film, it just doesn't work very well. And they've done better ideas on a lot of these Dark Horse comics.
20th Century Fox just shit their pants and were worried that if they didn't slap the name Alien on it, it just wasn't going to do that. Yeah, it's all about the brand. It's all about the brand.
And now there's yet
another
bloody Alien thing announced for, I don't know, next year or something. But who knows? I'm sure it'll be garbage.
Alien Romulus, I believe it's called.
Alien robbed the bank.
Yeah. Alien just stopped making aliens.
Make something good. Make a bootleg Alien movie that's original with new characters and better than Alien sequels.
Yeah, just try something new, and I might watch it or not watch it, but at least it will be new, and I don't have to continuously have to reason as to why that the sequel or the reboot isn't as good as the one that came before it. And
if you want to watch dodgy sequels and stuff, just go and watch like all the Friday movies or all the Star Trek movies, because even the shitty ones are still enjoyable.
Yeah, I like those series where you got a real up and down when it comes
Halloween,
to quality. Like
Nightmare on Elm
Fridays,
Street, I could sit down and binge those anytime.
I
And
think
even
with
the
the
bad
Fridays
ones
for
are just
me,
terrible. They won't destroy your soul.
if you go even numbers with the Fridays, I think it works out well. If you go 2, 4, 6, 8, you're gonna have fun.
But yeah, looking ahead to the next couple of weeks, looking at doing a video game specific episode for Alien and Predator stuff. From again, looking at the 90s stuff, all the kind of heap of games are out. Then if you look across all the consoles, microcomputers, arcade, PC, like they're just everywhere. And even on the old Commodore 64 had an Aliens, actually had 2 Aliens games.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And I hope folks, you do actually like Alien and Predator stuff, because I know we've been talking a lot about it, but there is a lot to talk about. And even when we do eventually finish up on this run of stuff, there'll still be more material for us to go back and look at. It's never ending in this world of pop culture that we like to dive into and explore. And I just think it's crazy that we've gone now to 50 episodes. Like, it doesn't seem like that long ago we were recording our very first episode together. So to make it to 50,
any moment now, like Test Bursters going to come out. It's going to be like celebrate, surprise, 50 streamers and confetti, blood confetti.
But no, seriously, I have to say, Johnny, I do love doing these shows with you. It gives me a purpose
I love it too.
week to week, and
it's 50 in a row, no gaps. Fingers crossed. Don't jinx it.
Yeah. Keep it going. Keep it going.
We'll have a week off sometime because life events, something will come along, which is fine. I just don't know. I think about them. Wait, eventually it's going to happen.
The network likes to run us hard. They don't like us taking any time off at all. It's pretty much in our contract that we have to do what we have to do. So
if I don't like build the show each week, the 4 horsemen will like chain me to a steel cage and start just beating living hell out of me.
And yeah, also folks who do kind of watch us regularly or semi-regularly, thanks for always stopping by and having patience with us as we reminisce on these topics and just listen to us having a nice wee natter. I hope you are having as good a time as we're having.
I hope so too. If you've like Alien Predator, enjoyed these ones. If you hate Alien and Predator, we've got WrestleManias coming up in a few weeks. We'll do some more of them. And I was thinking
all sorts.
I was thinking also chaser to WrestleManias of doing a Ninja Turtles animated series pilot, which is like 60 minutes that they then broke up into 3 episode network episodes. So it'd be cool to do that one.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Sticker on the list.
Yeah.
Here's to the next 50 episodes.
Next 50. Yeah, it's been awesome, man. Like, I've enjoyed it. And every time we do a bunch of topics and shows, and then I'm like, man, there's like 100 other things. And like, what have we ticked off? It's like there's always so many things.
As I've said many times before, like, it's not like we've watched this stuff before, played it, listened to it, whatever. But I like sometimes when you've actually a reason to go and rewatch something. And I think for me, I like when we do this show week to week, it's a good time for me to plan out and say, okay, look, we're talking about Predator 2 this week, or we're talking about Robocop this week, and sit down, watch it, re-experience this, reminisce about it, and then get to chat to a good friend about it. Like I just love this whole deal that we've got going on here.
I
So
always end
long
up
may it
watching a
last.
few YouTube videos too, or sometimes like to see someone else's point of view about something I've, seen many times, or sometimes I'll watch like a long play or a bit of a video game or retrospective on a series of comics or a series of games and stuff. But I can watch in like 10 minutes or so and get a little snapshot and kind of jog my memory and go, yeah, I played those ones, I haven't played that one, and
Yeah. Well, my memory regularly needs jog because it sucks. So that's another good reason to.
Well, I'll give you a prompt now. October, John Carpenter month. Halloween.
Oh yeah.
The Fog.
Can't wait.
And that demon
Smash
one I
that.
always forget the name of, with like the possession and the priest or whatever it is, and I can't remember. I always forget the name
Oh
of it.
yeah, Darkness, something of darkness.
That's the one.
Prince of Darkness. Prince of
Is the
Darkness.
bloody Superman in that one, or is it a different one he's in?
I know Donald Pleasance from the Halloween movies is in Prince of Darkness.
But yeah, I've
no,
got,
there
I've
is
got Prince
one,
of
the
Darkness on like
Christopher Reeve
a
one.
3-disc
Yeah.
set. I've got one there for $10 through John Carpenter's head, like The Fog, Prince of Darkness, and something else. What a good bloody combo set.
Yeah, we'll get there. All sorts of classic John Carpenter to look at. The Thing.
Yeah.
Escape
Yes,
from
I thought
LA.
same month. That's the other one. You've given it away. That's the Halloween month. Halloween Thing, Fog, and the Darkness one.
Yeah, going to be good. But between now and then, we've lots of other good stuff to get to, so don't worry.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, about time to wind up and say thanks for tuning in, checking out the show. We've got plenty more stuff coming up around the corner. We do kind of jump around to different classic movies. Occasionally we talk about games, WrestleMania, comics, whatever, but there's plenty more coming up.
Yeah, we got plenty more gasoline in the tank.
Okay,
Don't
thanks,
worry,
guys.
folks. We'll see you later.
I'll check you out next time.